And I will say, I have never had more fun in my entire banking career as I'm having right now. And part of it is working for Happy State Bank and laughing and having fun, but also being able to put together an organization that represents the values that I hold dear to me. And that is family first, community, and my job. And the folks that we've associated with at the bank all feel the same way.
Welcome in, everyone, to LoneStarVarsity.com. I'm Zach Long. That is George Watson, and that means it's time for the Happy State Bank Football Fever, an in-depth look at South Plains High School football. And George, last week we got all excited about the old running back Armageddon up in Shallow Water between Jarek Black of Shallow Water and Robert Johnson of Estacado. And we walked away knowing this: Shallow Water is kind of good at football.
Yeah, they're kind of good, and they're more than just a running back. And the running back war actually turned into a one-sided war with Shallow Water, with Jarek Black just having his normal game, but the Shallow Water defense really shutting down Estacado in all phases. And I think that obviously that's why they came out on top, is because they're a more balanced team, both balanced within their offense and balanced between offense and defense. And they showed that on Friday night while they're sitting there as the district leader, while they're sitting there getting votes in the AP poll each week.
And I'm sure the remaining teams on Shallow Water's schedule, when they get filmed, they're figuring out one thing real quick. You concentrate on Jarek Black, West McCutcheon will kill you.
Absolutely, and the problem is that Andrews has to go up against that this week, and they've got to pick their poison, and that's a defense that's giving up over 500 yards a game anyway. So so what do you do? Do you stop Jarek Black, or do you try to stop everybody else? And then you point in 2 weeks, you've got the big Shallow Water Cooper showdown that looks like it's coming down for the district championship. So yeah, a couple of good, interesting weeks for the Mustangs coming up.
That 3A district going to be fun to cover down the stretch, George. Onward now to our Happy State Bank Players of the Week. Let's start first with our female athlete. And hey, look, a Lubbock High swimmer being successful. I'm completely shocked by this.
Yeah, and the name is not Madison Cox, though. That's the thing. Yeah, a great job by Melissa Viator, a junior at Lubbock High. Went down to Abilene, finished first in one meet or in one event, third in the other, helped anchor a couple of the relay teams, helped Lubbock High earn the team championship on the girls' side, just barely over San Angelo Central. So, yeah, a good start to the swimming season for Lubbock High. Viator really looking to do some big things, kind of looking to be that leader now that Madison Cox isn't there. And so, yeah, a good job by Viator this week.
And on to our male athlete of the week, not surprisingly, Jarek Black, the running back from Shallow Water. A little bit of a down day. Only 266 yards.
Only, yeah. And the interesting thing is I went back and looked and said, all right, this will be what, his second, his third athlete? Oh, no, this is only his first athlete of the week this week. So, we've been sitting there waiting for Jarek Black, to kind of have the game. He's had the games, but really hasn't been, the game on the South Plains. But he had the game last week, 35 carries, 266 yards, 2 touchdowns. Showed that he's really come back from the knee injury, like Coach Maxfield said. Everything looks good for Jarek going down the stretch here. Looks good.
Some Division I team is going to get a steal in
Absolutely.
that kid.
Absolutely.
George, onward now. Let's get a look here. We've had enough of the season to watch these teams and see what's going on, and you should be getting a pretty good idea of who our elite teams are in terms of who is capable of making a run deep into the playoffs. So we're going to call this 5 for fighting. Yeah. You give me 5 football teams that we can expect to see maybe running late into November.
Well, I think at number 5, I think you go with the Cooper Pirates. I like what they're doing offensively. Coach Cat Winkle really wanted to install the up tempo, and looks like they've really taken to that. They're averaging sitting there 40, 45 points a game in district. So I like the way they're playing. I like Denver City. Denver City had the big win over IDALOU last week, 35-21. Coach Taylor has those guys playing really well. I don't see anybody else in the district being able to challenge them. I see they could go pretty far, maybe 2 or 3 rounds deep. I think you got to look at the Friendship Tigers. Obviously, they sit there. They go 3 rounds deep pretty much every year. I don't see anything changing with them. They've got a good offensive balance. They've got good defense. They're playing well in district right now. Number 2, I think you go with Shallow Water. Same thing as Friendship. Good offensive balance. Good balance between offense and defense. Their defense is playing outstanding. I don't see anybody Cooper may challenge them here in a couple weeks, but that's going to be a good game. That'll be their next challenge before they get to 3 rounds deep. And then the New Deal Lions. We said last week that Hale Center may be the team that challenges them in district. Hale Center got 14 points. not much of a challenge, and they gave up 60. So right now, I don't see anybody challenging New Deal. Sundown's going to sit down there the last week of the season and say, hey, don't forget about us. We've done it before. Right now, though, I think this is a different New Deal team. I don't, they haven't really had the rash of injuries like the team 2 or 3 years ago had. I don't see anybody slowing them down until maybe the regional semifinals or the regional finals.
Probably getting in against one of those powerhouse teams from the upper panhandle, which is always a heck of a fun matchup for us to cover. Usually about 14 degrees somewhere. And
14 degrees at the Buffalo Bowling Canyon, and you're sitting there playing a team like Stratford, which is probably the team that's going to end up beating. Wellington's sitting there, but they're in Division II. Stratford's sitting there in Division I. I think those are the top 2 teams in the region right now.
Should be a very fun process to watch throughout the playoffs, which we're now just a few weeks away from.
Just 3 weeks.
George, onward to our 5 games we're going to pick this week, and like we just said, we're close to the playoffs. These are all big boys. These are almost must-wins for these teams if you're going to put yourself in a position to either get to the postseason or be slotted in a favorable bracket. Let's start first in 2A with a very good football team by their own right, the Abernathy Antelopes. They are going to Olton.
Going to Olton, and a surprising Olton team. I was able to talk to Coach Kent Torbert this week. They're sitting there 2-0 in district. And the first-year coach has implemented his system. This is a team that was 1-9 last year, and was 0 in district. So they've already doubled their district wins. They're 4-3 overall, a very good team. But here come their 2 tests. They get Abernathy this week. They get Post next week. Then they've got Tulia to end the season. I think Olton will be a playoff team, but I don't think they're going to be able to survive what Abernathy is going to bring. I'm going with the Antelopes. I think they're better in this one.
Next up, what should be a heck of a game, at least on paper, SLATON visits IDALOU.
Yeah, SLATON, a little bit tough team to figure out. I know Coach Terry is excited about his kids. I know he's got some really good kids out there. I just don't know if they've reached their potential yet. They're right there. They're close, and I told him that, but I just don't think they've gotten there, whether it's injuries with Bryce Whaley or they just haven't been consistent. And to go to IDALOU, which is going to get their mad on after being beat by Denver City last week, is a tough thing to get right. I'm going to go with IDALOU, go with the Wildcats here.
And the next game, George, I know coaches and fans love it when we use the cliche, a must-win. But let's be honest with ourselves. Seminole, Estacado, that's a must-win for the Matadors.
Well, I honestly, quite a little bit of a must-win for both teams because Seminole's sitting there 0-2 in district, and they've really struggled offensively, which is a little bit unusual for a Chris Birch coach team. But there they are. They're sitting there. They haven't scored that many points, and you're right. Estacado is going to, I think, be refocused after their game with Shallow-Water. I think they're going to. This is a Thursday night game, so it's a short week for both teams. But I'm going to go with the Matadors. I think they bounce back in this one.
George, back to our powerhouse 3A district that we like to talk about so much. Levelland visits Lubbock Cooper.
Yeah, speaking of bounce back, a good bounce back by Levelland last week, beating Andrews after losing to Estacado. Now they go into Cooper, and like I said, Cooper's just been phenomenal offensively. They've got good balance offensively, running and passing, and Stanton Keene has done a wonderful job quarterbacking that group. Levelland's living on the defense, so it's going to be, can Cooper's offense establish against Levelland's defense, or will the defense hold? I don't know if Levelland's going to have enough defense to hold Cooper in that offense. I'm going to go with the Pirates.
George up next. Friendship on the finishing stretch of their schedule. They can't trip up. This is where they have to get it done. It starts with a trip to Hereford.
Trip to Hereford, and historically what has been one of the best rivalries out here on the South Plains. You go back to the hot days of the Hodges and Kendall Briles and David Thomas and all that, and this has been a great football game. I think it's going to be another good football game. Friendship's going to go in. They're going to have the balance offensively. Hereford, we know, is all centered around Dane Lowry, their outstanding quarterback, but they've been struggling defensively. We'll see how Hereford is with the confidence now that they've got that win under their belt. They're going to need a lot of it because Friendship's going to come in, and I don't see anybody really stopping the Tigers right now. I think Friendship goes on the road and gets this one.
On to our Happy State Bank game of the week. Big-time playoff implications in this one. Plainview visits Monterey.
Big-time playoff implications. Like you said, both teams 1-1 in district. Plainview, I thought I had them figured out for a minute. They got a win in non-district. They beat Lubbock High pretty good, but then they go and they struggle against San Angelo Lakeview. So, a little hard to figure out. They live on their defense. Their offense is not that good. They gave up a lot of rushing yards to Eli Peterson of San Angelo Lakeview, who's maybe probably about the third or fourth best back. Statistically, he's number 2, but you talk about Friendship shares people,
right?
So their running game is a little better, and now they're going up against Vincent Johnson of Monterey, probably the best overall back in the district right now. Not a good sign for Plainview. I think Monterey is going to hold serve at home. They're going to kind of have their mat on a little bit as well after losing to Friendship and not playing a game I thought they thought that they could play. So they're going to be I think a little bit more focused. They know what's at stake. They're at home. I'm going to go with the Plainsmen.
And in recent history, Coach Pearson and that team have done a fantastic job down the stretch of securing playoff berths.
Yeah, absolutely. Take last week's loss away. They ran into the district champion or the district favorite right there in Friendship. And I don't think that was anything bad against Monterey because they were right there with them for a half and played well. They just didn't come out and play well in the second half. I think that's going to be their focus this week, is playing 4 full quarters. Knowing Coach Pearson, he's going to have those guys ready. I think they'll be ready to go, and I think Monterey will come out on top.
George, should be a fantastic week. Always this fun time. It's a great time of year because these kids are playing for their seasons, and for those seniors, in a lot of cases, they're playing for their careers. Anything can happen. A ton of emotion makes our jobs extremely fun to go out and do every week. Yeah,
and a lot of teams this week will go out. A lot of your undefeated teams will go out this week and either come dangerously close to or end up clinching a playoff spot this week. So it'll be interesting to see how everything shakes out and who clinches when we get through it this week.
And if they want to know about that, you know where they're going. They're going to stay locked into LoneStarVarsity.com and LubbockOnline.com. We'll have full coverage of Thursday and Friday's games. Should be some big ones. Until that time, I'm Zach Long. That is George Watson. We'll see you out there Friday.